And now I'm going to start sharing my screen. All right. Okay, so yes, Google Club, Forms, and Sheets. This is the information you'll need at the end when you're doing your evaluation, but it's basically just what we've been saying. It's our session today, and it goes from 4 to 5:30. As I usually do, we have the agenda here, and if I ask you what's the difference between this and this, who can tell me what is the difference between these two things? Go ahead and unmute or put it in the chat. What would you guess?
It's a hyperlink. The upper one's a hyperlink.
Perfect, Sean. Thank you so much. It's a hyperlink. And I think you've seen this before. Usually in my slides, I do hyperlinks in the agenda with the idea that instead of going out to some external website, this will just take you to the forms section in the slides. What I realized just now is I've neglected to add my little button that takes me back to the agenda. So I will do that for us before I like at the end of today. But anyway, so the idea is that when you come back, you don't have to go through all the slides. You can move through the slideshow by clicking on those two, in case you're particularly interested in one versus the other. Okay, so back again. And our goals today, our objectives today are that you will feel able to create your own Google Form quiz and apply sorting and additional or conditional formatting to Google Sheets. And why don't I give you the link to these while I'm doing this? So in the chat, I'm going to give you a link to the slides in case you want to click in there and go along with me or have it for you later on. I will email these to you as well. All right. So in the chat, you have our slide link. I'll also give you the link to our folder because a lot of the examples I'm going to give you today require a certain amount of content, a certain amount of data. And so we have some kind of faked up data documents that you can use to play with this stuff. That's the folder. Okay, so we've got our slides in our folder. A reminder that we do have 2 more Google Clubs this fiscal year. The one on the 12th is going to be on something that Google has put together called Arts and Culture and some other hot new tips. There's a lot of changes. I don't know if you've been seeing things pop up with about their AI and a bunch of things like that. So that it's going to be kind of a mishmashy session. And then on the 26th is our show and tell. And I'm going to start reaching out to you all individually because what we want from the show and tell is actually that you, sorry, do I have a link somewhere here? There we go. That you all, so here's our sign up sheet. And what we're looking for is for you to do a 5-minute presentation or something like that on what you've been doing with Google this year, whether it's related to what you've learned or practiced as part of Google Club, or whether it's more just something that you found useful on your own. Last year was really, was a fantastic session. I think we heard from about 3 or 4 people. So you would come to this link, you would come in here, put your name, the topic you're going to cover, a short description if you have something in mind already, and then how much time, and that way we can kind of put together. So we have our hour and a half. And again, it's you showing us what you've been doing this year. So I'll be reaching out to you. What I find is people are shy and they don't just sign up. So I will reach out to some of you that I know are doing things, but I don't know a lot. Many of you are doing things I don't know about. So please do not feel shy and come in here and sign up to just give us a real quick overview of what's working and what isn't. I mean, that's another component of this. It doesn't have to be that you had magical success. Maybe you tried something out and it failed, and you'd like to have other people's suggestions, or you have an idea of what to do next time. So again, this doesn't have to be a story of success necessarily, but certainly an example of something that you've been trying out. So that's in our slides. And again, I'll share that. I'll send that link out to you directly, as well as touch base with a few of you that I know are doing things. Okay, so that's our next two Google Clubs. Then we'll take a little break during the summer, and we'll come back probably in September or October. When you do the evaluation today, consider including in there topics you'd like to see us cover next year. You can also just always email me, and maybe we'll put out a survey even to our Google Club list. But we are always, want to reflect back whatever you guys are interested in. And usually at this point, it's mostly about connecting the different tools and the ways that we can use them in our practices. As you might remember, we have our micro-credential assignments. I think so far we've only had a couple people do them. So thank you, Erjan and Marika. And I know I have the slide, I have the badges. I just need to connect them to our badge account, but I will do that. There are so the idea of these micro-credentials was an opportunity for you to take what you learned today and what you already know and demonstrate that you have certain skills, and then we give you a digital badge, and the digital badge can be put onto your LinkedIn or in your resume or wherever to demonstrate that you have in fact got these skills. And it's very explicit. So we have the syllabus here, but if you go to slide number 7, these are the two assignments this week. So we have Google Forms and we have Google Sheets. They look like this. So they're very explicit requirements of what we need to see there. And I think we'll cover all of that stuff in the session today. So again, that's why the recording is so helpful. And it needs to be submitted by June 24th. And there's a link here. It's a short Google form where you put your name and then the link out to in this case, a Google form that you've created. And then the other one is for Google Sheets, similarly, not too much to do, but some very specific skills. So again, things that we will cover today. So consider doing those. I know it's hard to make time and find time, and that's kind of why we give you a deadline. We also have another option, which is to do a portfolio. I know some people were not able to do the other assignments in the time that we were allotted to them, and you can, before the last session, do a portfolio version, which is taking the 3 of these assignments and submitting them. And I'll send out more about that portfolio option in case that's something you want to do. So you'll get an email with that information. Okay. Oh, we talked about that. Okay, so we're going to kick off today by you taking a quiz. So this is a Google form. I gave you the link here. I will also put the link in the chat, but I will say that one of the things about Google Forms, first and foremost, is that they're very, very user-friendly on a phone. And that's the one reason I give you the QR code. You notice I didn't give you a QR code to our slides, because really for today, it's not so helpful to look at our slides on a phone. Slides look fine on a phone, but when you're interacting with stuff, they're not so useful. But a form as a place to actually enter your information and do all that, the phone is just fine. So you have 2 options. You can scan this QR code with your phone and answer the questions there, or you can go to this link. If you have the slides open, you can click on the link, but I'm also putting it in the chat. And I'm actually going to give you, I'm going to give you 10 minutes because it's a tricky quiz, and it's a quiz that covers all of the things we've done in Google Club this year. But I want you to notice that even if you did not attend Google Club, you will learn from taking this quiz. You will guess the answer. You might be right or wrong, but because it's a self-scoring quiz, at the end, once you've submitted it, you'll get a little window that says you want to see your score or whatever your correct answers. And if you click on that, you'll get actually all the information. So I want you to, and the reason I want to demonstrate this by you doing it is I want you to see how much you actually learn, even if you're taking a quiz over content you don't know. That first time you take it, you will learn. And also, I think it will identify what is important to learn. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking. It's 4:18. I'm actually going to pause our recording, and I'm not going to talk again until 4:28.
Can I ask,
Yes.
if I click on the link, will I be able to get back to the
Yes.
thing?
Yes. So what's going to happen, let me stop sharing now. What's going to happen if you click on the link in the chat, you're going to, a new tab is going to open in your browser, and you're just going to notice at the top of your browser that there's the link to the quiz. And then I guess, are you seeing Zoom through your browser or through a desktop app? Do you know how you see it? I'm guessing, I think you should be fine, but this is another reason why maybe doing it on your phone might be okay. Do you know how to scan the QR code with your phone? No, it's a good skill to know. So I'm going to take a moment with the phone. So my phone, I have an Android phone, and I'll put that QR code back up again. And all you do is you open up the camera app on your phone, you hold it up, and then it will focus in on the QR code, and it will pop up a little link. Mine pops up a little link, and I tap on that link, and then I get to that place. So like if you're in a restaurant and you click on it, you'll get to a menu. In this case, you'll get to our form. Let me pull that back up again. So wait till the QR code's up there. There we go. Okay, turn it around, Vivian. So you're seeing your phone. You see the picture there, and hold it up as if you're taking a picture of the screen. And where the QR code is, there a little link popping up? And you might have to tap on the link. Did that work? Oh, you're muted, Vivian. I know, so many moving parts. Did that work, Vivian, or no?
Do I have to go to?
Did it pop up on your
unmute.
phone? Oh, you're good. You're unmuted now. I can hear you, Vivian.
Okay.
Did it
Do I have
work?
to go to gallery to see it?
You shouldn't have to go to gallery, so it shouldn't take a picture. It should, the camera.
It came up. It
Okay.
just came up.
Yay! And it should look like this.
Yeah.
Yay!
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Fantastic.
Sorry
That's
for my
great. No,
confusion.
not at all. Not at all.
Thank you.
Okay, again, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to pause our recording and let you take that quiz. And we'll look at the quiz together. So, where did my quiz go? There. Okay.
I got my name right.
Yay! That is fantastic. So the way the quiz works, so in Google Quizzes, there are two views. There's the view that the maker sees, which we're going to call the back end. And there's the view that the person taking the quiz sees. We'll call that the front end. And what you see here is the front end. And I know that because I can't edit any of the questions. If I click in here, nothing turns blue. And actually, I see that little pencil down there that tells me I can edit the form, but I have to click on that to get to the edit view. So if I click on that, now I'm in the edit view. And what I'll notice when I'm in the edit view is I have these three tabs along the top, right? So questions, responses, settings. I have this little bar that tells me all the different kinds of questions I can include in my form. And just like with other Google tools, I think we've talked about this with Google Slides and maybe with the Google Sites. Google tells you which item you're currently editing by adding a blue line. So in Google Slides, it's a blue box around whatever it is. So if you're editing the image will have a blue line around it. If you're editing text, the text box will have a blue line around it. Here, this tells me I'm editing these two pieces. If I click on this one, now I'm editing this piece. So it can be a little confusing when you're looking at all this to know where you are. And the thing to remember is you want to look for that blue line that tells you that's where you're currently clicked into and doing your work. If you don't want to be clicked in anywhere, you just click outside. Actually, I don't know that it lets you do that. So you can't even click out of it. You're just going to always be editing something in here once you've made your quiz. So we're going to get into a little bit more how I made the quiz, but we're going to start here by looking at the responses, because actually some of this information is really helpful for me to see.
Could I
Yeah.
ask a quick question?
Yes, Shelley.
When you said the blue line or the blue box would be visible, that's only for the one who has created that Google.
Correct. So you guys, right. Good point. So when you're in here taking the quiz, and the way that I get to see, as I said, this is the back end view. To see the front end view, I can always go look at a preview over here. And you'll see that it opened up a second tab. So I have the back end view now, and I have the preview. And you're absolutely right. If you're the person taking the quiz, you don't know, you cannot make anything blue. You are just going to come in here and make your answers, and that's all you can do. So very good point. You don't see the blue here. The blue is only for the creator. And only when you're in the creating mode. So, okay, so the answers here, whoops, in the response section. So Google automatically gives you a little overview of everything that people did. But it's not, and it's fine. It gives me a sense very quickly of who took the quiz, and I can kind of see how many people got the answers right in a sort of anonymous way, right? What I generally want, though, is a little more information. So whenever you have a Google form, you always have the option of linking the responses to a Google Sheet, which is like Excel. So it's a data spreadsheet, right? So I'm going to go ahead and click link to Sheets. And maybe I'm using this form many times, and I want to just keep adding all these new answers to the old form, the old spreadsheet. That's very unusual for me. Usually it's a new quiz every time, and I want to go ahead and create a new spreadsheet, not select an existing one. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new one. And again, it's just going to pop it up. And wherever the form is, whatever folder you created the Google form in, this Sheets document is going to be right there, named the same name, but it's going to be Sheets versus Forms. So our Sheets have a green icon and our Forms have a purple icon. And now in the folder, here was this is the quiz, the Google form. And let me refresh this. And now we see there's a spreadsheet with exactly the same name. And that's what it created. This is going to have the answers from here. So if I open up the spreadsheet, now I see all the data here. And it's a little easier to manage, especially if I want to track, like, I've noticed that Faina is a rock star and gets everything right all the time. So I might want to just come in and check on her and see how it went, right? Or vice versa, someone's struggling. And I want to keep an eye on them, or I'm just tracking data. And I can see people kind of struggled with this quiz, right? So it's good that we're going to kind of go over the answers. So by making it into a Google quiz, it has this score column. If it was not in quiz mode, so when you make your form, you get to decide, is it a quiz? Are there right answers? Which is great when you're doing assessment. But if you're just doing a survey or getting information, maybe a registration form for your program, there's no right or wrong answers. We don't need to make a quiz then. So the quiz is a very specific setting, and it's really only useful if you're doing multiple choice and questions that can be judged. The correct answer can be easily judged by AI. All right, so let's see. Yeah, so that's kind of the information that you see there. So going back to the quiz itself, let's go through these answers. So question 1 was your name. I'm glad most of you got that one right, I think. So question number 2 was, can you tell by looking at this link if the document being shared is being shared with edit, commenter, or view only access? Who said yes, you can tell? Who wants to explain to us how you could tell? Did anyone say yes?
Yes, Deborah.
Yeah, Deborah.
I really guessed, right? But for me, the word presentation was important because I thought, yeah, if I am doing a presentation, I was the person who edited, right?
And
so
this is,
I don't know if it's important.
it's a good point. And this is, I think what I love about that point is that we do, as humans, we look for words, right? This is a big mishmash of numbers and letters, but suddenly we see the word presentation, we see the word edit, we see sharing. So we think we know what it means because those are words that have meaning to us, but they don't. So you cannot tell from any Google link whether the link will give the other person access to your content at these different levels, at the edit, commenter, or view only access. So to show you that, if I go into here, let's make a new slide. So say I wanted to share this presentation with you, right? I go up to my share button. And I have two ways to share with you. I have this version where I put in your email address, but I don't know your email address right now. So I want to go down here to general access and I want to give you a link. So right now, the link I'm going to copy is view only. Okay, so I'm going to copy that link. I'm going to go back to my slide. I'm going to paste it here. So that is the link that I just created. And we saw that it had view only access. Now I'm going to go back to share and I'm going to change it so that you have commenter access. So if I copy this link, how many of you think it's going to be different? Or the same?
The same.
It's the same. Thank you, Marika. Yeah, so this has become one of my new little soapboxes. So if you've been attending my sessions recently, you might have already heard this. But people, I think that the link changes when you change the settings. People think they can read words here that have meaning in English, but don't really have any meaning in a link. So just know that the link stays the same, but you can change the access. And this could be very useful to you if you're sharing a link with students and you say, okay, everybody, you have 10 minutes to put your answers in this Google Doc, or you can look at these slides you can add your content to these Google Slides until Friday. And then on that Friday, you change it to view only and they can't do it anymore. I don't know that would be an activity you'd want to do, or vice versa, right? You might want to make it, I actually can't think of a situation where I give you view only access and then later on change it to edit access. But I think what I hear from people who are nervous about using Google is this fear a little bit about controlling who has what level access. And the path to getting clear on that and feeling secure and really like you really understand what's going on is to understand this. Step one, the link looks the same regardless of what level access you've given. So you need to go in and change the level of access and be clear here what you've given people. Marika.
I just have a question. Why does Google do that? That's so confusing.
It is confusing, but it does mean that there aren't 50 million different links out there, right? So,
okay.
I mean, that's the only thing I can think that's beneficial, that if every time I shared it again, I'd be giving you a new link. I think, so the benefit here is that I don't have to worry about giving you a new link. Or if I go in and edit it, I think some people think that happens too, right? If I go into this document now and I edit it, and then I give you the link, is that a new link? And no, it isn't. So the link just stays the same. It's just static. I guess actually we'd call it dynamic. So the link itself looks the same, but what it leads you to is different. But I can't tell you, Marika, why they've done it that way, except I'm guessing that there'll be some issue over time if every time you changed the level of access, they needed to create a new link. It would become difficult to create unique links. They'd have to become very long, and they're already very long. But I agree that that can feel very insecure. So in sharing, if I was teaching the same group of people over time, I would probably add them in here. instead of down here. Down here is what I do when I see you only today. I don't know if I'm going to see you. We don't have a regular class, so this is a one-off. And I do have your email addresses if I go to the Eventbrite, whatever, but I might not have your Google account emails, right? So if you want to use this version, you want to make sure that you have whoever you're sharing the content with, you want to have their email that they would use with their Google account. So usually it's a Gmail account. You can see I have my colleague Cynthia's in here because this is her work Google account. So it looks like her work email address, but it's actually still associated with Google. I have my personal email is a Yahoo account. And if people try to type my Yahoo account up in this box, then it gets very confusing because I don't have a Google account associated with it. So it's hard for me to save this document or access it by my Google account. So just as a rule in your head, the decision when you're sharing to either share up here or down here. So we call this people with access and general access. General access is what I'm doing today. I give you a link. You all get there on your own. I don't even have to know your names. Right? I could just put a QR code up in the subway and share a link out with people that way. Completely anonymous. I don't even know who you are at all. Or if it's someone that I'm going to work with a lot, or I want to be able to change discreetly, individually, the levels of access, then I want to use up here. So when I'm working with a colleague, I'll often put their email up here and I'll give them edit access. And then the link down here will only be view access. And that's usually what I'm giving to people in my workshops. So you can view it, but you can't edit it. The commenting level means that you could come in and say, if I leave it with commenter access, when you are here, you can click on this little comment button and write a comment like this word should be purple, or again, it's sort of just like if you're working with a student, you might say, maybe try a larger picture, or try, this word is misspelled or something like that. So you're commenting on the side rather than going in and editing their content. Of course, you as the maker always have that access, but the person who you send it to, that's when you want to decide what level they should have. So again, it's under share. You have 3 choices. Make your decision, check it once, feel secure that you know what level of access you've given people, and know that you cannot tell by looking at this link. Okay, so let's go back to our quiz. So that was number 2. Number 3. Okay, so which of the following are ways to open new Google documents? Now, what do you notice the difference between question 2 and question 3? Why are there circles and why are there squares?
One is a 2-option answer, right?
Which one?
The first one.
So this has 2 options. Can I choose both?
No, sorry, you have to pick one, right?
Exactly.
Yes or no.
Yes.
The other one it can be 1 correct or the 4. You can
exactly. And this is important because this is used universally. This is not just Google. If you take, I think the TABE test, and I know when I took the GRE that there were questions where you had to give only 1 answer and they would have circles. And there were questions where you had to choose 2 answers. And one tip was that you could read the directions, but I was really bad about reading the directions. So a good tip was to notice if it was a circle, I can only choose 1 answer. If it's a square, usually it means you can choose as many as you want. In this case, all of these are true. These are all ways that you could open a new Google document. It's really up to you, a preference. And obviously some are a little faster than others or more efficient. And some are, so depending on your habits, the efficiency would be different, right? So when I come into every morning, I turn on my computer, I open up my Chrome browser, my Google Drive is open by default. I have it set up so that one of the tabs is always open is Google Drive. That means it's very easy for me to do this second one because I'm already there. It's already happening, and I can put the doc inside the folder that I want it to be in, and I can do a lot of things that I think are very efficient. If I just type docs.new, that's super efficient. That's really fast, but I have to go back later and tell it where to go because it's just going to sit in my drive without being put into a folder. So when you're deciding kind of what the content is and where you want it to go, that's part of the decision that helps me decide which one of these to do, right? If I'm doing kind of a like throwaway Google Doc, I might do this version. If I want to control where it's created, what folder, you can see, so I have this folder, right? If I want to make a new document for this workshop, I want to make that document in here. So I want this folder to be open, and I'm going to click new, and that's where I'm going to do a new doc. If I do docs.google.com, I have to tell it afterwards where to go. And that's not terrible, but that's less efficient if you already know where you want it to be. Does that make sense? There's a lot of, yeah. So you can't, none of these are wrong. Oops, let's get back to this. None of these are wrong, but there's a bit of a thought process. And as you do it more frequently, you'll do it more quickly to decide which one to use. But all of them are good. You can organize Google Drive by changing the color of files. True or false? True? I think Elsa shaking her head. What do other people think? So this was a trick question because it was the word files.
It's folders, but yeah, that was a trick one.
It was a tricky one. So folders you can change the color of. If I go out to these are files. I can't change the color of any of these. These have that icon that's related to the tool. So I can't change a file color. But when I go out here, I can change the color of my folder, right? And that can help me very easily see which folder it is I'm working on right now.
May I ask a quick question,
yeah.
please?
Go ahead.
A file is I'm sorry, a folder is within a file, yes?
The other way around. A file is inside a folder.
A file. Oh, okay. So a file is inside a folder. Folders have different colors, and the file, the color is associated with the program that it's using?
Yes, exactly right. Yes.
All right.
You got it.
More than a 5-year-old today.
No. So think back to, all of this is predicated on the old-fashioned idea of a filing cabinet, right? So in our filing cabinet, which would be our drive, we have folders. So those are the outer manila folders or color folders. And then inside the folder, we have files, which is a little tricky because I don't know that we use that word for what we put inside folders, but you have a bunch of files inside your folders, and the folder is what you get to change the color on. And exactly as Shelley said, inside the folder, so if I have my folder here and I double click on it, these are all files, and Google tells you immediately. If you were looking at Microsoft right now, you wouldn't be able to tell as easily what kind of file it was. You'd have to look at the end of the label of the file, whether it's like a doc or a Excel or whatever. With Google, they put it right there for you. So if I come to this folder and I look at all these files, I don't have to read anything to be able to tell you which one is the slides document, the slides file, because slides are yellow and there's only one yellow thing there. So it's really good to get clear in this, because it also is true up here, right? Right now, how many slides decks do I have open? Can you see that? They're very tiny. If you're looking at the tabs across the top of my Chrome, how many different Google Slides files do I have open?
One.
One, exactly. So I don't have to go read the words or look at any of the other language. I just know that these are the slides I want to get back to. So when I'm taking you to our form and I need to go back to the slides, it's super easy once I remember that I'm looking for that little yellow icon. So you want to get familiar with these icons because they do make things faster often. Like I have obviously now a couple of different forms open. I have two files open. I'm going to close that one. Two sheets open. Oh, and there's the other. So I might close out some of these. And then the blue one is those were our descriptions of the assignments for the micro-credential. Okay. Gotcha. So yes, it was a trick question because many of you, I think, know that you can change colors, but only folders, not files. When viewing your Google Drive, what do you use more often? We had grid view, list view, I don't know. So if I'm looking here, is this a list view or a grid view?
List.
List, right? Just like a shopping list. It's just a list of words. And up here, we have a choice of changing that layout. So you have two different layouts. You have the list view and you have the grid view, which looks like that. And some people really love the grid view because you see little pictures. You immediately know what's inside each document, right? That's very handy. So inside a folder, I might have a grid view. For me, because I have so much stuff in my drive, for the whole drive, the same settings are true there. If I go back out all the way to my drive, this would be impossible. I have so much stuff, it would make me crazy. So for my whole drive, for me personally, I want the list. But once I'm inside a folder, it's intriguing. Depending on how much stuff's in the folder, maybe I do want the grid view. That question didn't have a wrong or right answer, by the way. So that was just a personal choice. Okay, if you have a Google account and you already have a YouTube account with the same credentials, even if you've never set one up, true or false?
True.
True. Yes. Google owns YouTube and your Google account is your YouTube account, even if you've never logged in. In Google Slides, the tabs and ribbons stay the same no matter what you are editing. True or false? So the ribbons, if we're looking at our slides here, this is a ribbon. And these are our tabs. So right now, what kind of content am I editing in my slide? Remember, we mentioned that blue line thing. So what is inside the blue lines here? Is it an image?
Text box.
In this case, it's text, right? Yeah, it's a text box, exactly. So when I have a text box that I'm editing, this is the ribbon that I see. It's all about all the tools I might need for my text box. But if I'm in this one and I click on the image, then I have a different set. These are things to help me edit my image, right? So this is an image. This is what the ribbon looks like. If I click on the text box again, it's a different set of things that are in my ribbon. And that's important to know because it can be very confusing for you and for learners if they are used to this ribbon, like they've been seeing this ribbon a lot, and then suddenly they don't notice, but they're over here and they're like, I want to go back and change the color of my font, and they can't do it. It's not there. So it's important to notice that as you click on different things, this changes. These tabs do not change. Right, so file, edit, view, insert, format, slide, arrange, tools, extensions, and help, they will be there. But this ribbon will change. So that was the question about slides. Now I ask the same question about Docs. What do you think happens in Google Docs? So we said with slides, the tabs and ribbons stay the same no matter what you are editing. So the trick part is that the tabs do stay, but the ribbon doesn't. So we're going to say that this is false. In Google Docs, is it true or false that the tabs and ribbons stay the same no matter what you are editing?
True.
It's actually the same as slides, except we just don't do it as much. We don't usually have images in docs as much, but if you had an image in your doc, you would actually see that the ribbon does change as well. So this is also false.
That's false.
And then in Google Sheets, what do you think? If you had a Google Sheet, so you have your spreadsheet and you insert an image, do you think that the tabs and the ribbon is going to stay the same or not? I didn't know. I had to try it out. So I'll tell you, this is the one case where the ribbon stays the same. So this one is true. So for docs and slides, the ribbon changes depending on the content that you're editing. Not two different pieces of writing, but if you're editing writing versus an image or a shape, and with sheets, it stays the same regardless. The favicon is a very small icon visible on the different tabs on an internet browser. So we just talked a little bit about these little images up here, right? That I can tell very quickly that I have one set of slides open because it has this little yellow image icon. This is a favicon. So the answer here is true. And this came up when we were talking about Google websites last time, because you'll see when people make their own site, their own websites using Google Sites, they often don't change the image, and you'll get the little icon that tells you it's a Google site. But you can actually put your own image in there. So it's good to know that you can change the favicon. And now you know the word favicon, which one day you're going to win in Jeopardy, and it'll be because you were here today and you now know what a favicon is. So the favicon, yes, it is a very small icon visible on different tabs in the internet browser.
Is it only for the yellow slide deck?
No, any of these, right? So if I'm looking here, which one's my drive? My Google Drive.
The triangle one.
Exactly. So as long as you know the image, and if I go to a website, like I go to the Literacy Assistance Center's website, right? So lacnyc.org, our website has our little logo as its favicon. So any website, any place that you go to on the internet can have a favicon. And we just talk about them as icons generally, but they are called a favicon, and it is this explicitly for this purpose, that there's just a little tiny picture that goes along with whatever the words are on your tabs. The thing that's actually, I mean, I think a lot of people think it's a little frivolous, but I would actually say it's really quite important, because it really does help people. If you have multiple tabs open, and I'm guessing most of us do, it really can help you move between your tabs more easily than having to actually try to read the words. Like you could have two things with very similar words on them. And how do you know which one's which if you don't recognize that this is a slides and this is a forms? Or this is a website and maybe this is a form that says Literacy Assistance Center, you know, so getting clear in that and noticing that is important. And you'll notice some people know how to do it and some people don't, or at least they don't think to do it. Like there's a website creator called Wild Apricot, and the Mountain Plains Adult Education Association, they use Wild Apricot. This little icon here, that is Wild Apricot's, I don't want to do that. This is Wild Apricot's icon. So every website that is made using Wild Apricot will have this icon unless you consciously change it. And you want to change it because maybe there are 3 different websites that I'm looking at and they all have that same icon. That's very annoying. So that's my little soapbox on favicons, because I really like favicons. I love knowing that I can change them, but I really actually believe that they're very important as a wayfinding tool. And we talk a lot about that when we're looking at what are the files you have open right now. When we talk about that little image, that is a favicon. Am I missing some chat points? So Wei Hong says, I said yes because when I click on the link, Chrome shows a view only icon that looks like an eye. Oh, okay. I like that. Oh, understood. People have to leave. Yes. Okay. I'm just catching up on the chat. Okay. Back to our quiz. Google Sites, you can create a public website for free, but it's limited to 5 web pages. True or false?
I guessed true, but I don't know if it's
What do other
Right.
people think? Yeah, Elsa's shaking her head. So I'll tell you, you can create a public website for free and there's no limit. So this is
Great.
false because the 5-page limit is false. So far, there's no known limit. It doesn't even take away from the memory that you have in your Google Drive. So you can make as many web pages as you want, and you can put as much content as you want. Unlike the other Google tools, Google Sites, you can edit the content even after you share the link with your learners. True or false? It's a trick question a little bit. So can you change the content in Google Sites after you've published it? Or I guess in this case, it wasn't that, it was just that the link would stay the same. So the trick question is, this is true for all Google tools. We were just looking at links earlier on, right? And we said, if I share a link with you today and I go back and add content to that document, you're going to see the new version of the content. So actually, this is true for all Google tools. I'm going to say most Google tools because it's never good to say all, but most Google tools, this is true. Once you
True.
give you give someone a link, you can go back and change the content, add new things, delete everything, whatever you want to do, they will see that new version. Elsa, did you have a question?
No, I agree. 'Cause,
Okay.
yes, yes, I agree.
Excellent. And
Yeah.
and the reason that's important is I'm a big supporter of creating Google Sites as a website, but you could treat a Google Doc as a website if you wanted to. And your students would just always go back to that Google Doc and you would put new content there and eventually it could be 500 pages long. So you can use any Google tool in a way as a kind of a online space. But Google Sites obviously has some bells and whistles included in it that make it even more fun to use.
Yeah,
Oh.
I use Google Slides a lot, and whenever I
Excellent.
want to edit or update it, or that's how
You
I
just
know
do.
that you can
Yes.
do add pictures or whatever. Yes.
Perfect. Well done.
Thank
Can
you.
I ask if they have if they have it open already, will it automatically change
So
or
there's a
would it?
little lag and it will change, but they won't, it might take a little bit. So if you're working with people and you want them to see it immediately, you would suggest to them to refresh their page and then the
Okay.
change would definitely show up. But it will show up eventually. I just don't know kind of what the magic moment is when it will propagate into the new. So usually just to speed it up, we'd do that little circle with the arrow on it and we refresh our page. Okay, last question. Google Sites uses responsive design. So even if you design your site for a computer screen, it will automatically change layout for people viewing the site on a phone. True or false?
I think it's true.
It is true. It's another
Mhm.
wonderful thing about Google Sites that it automatically will do that for you. You should double check what it looks like for a phone because sometimes, you created it with a picture here and writing here, and in the phone version, the picture will go on top of the writing and you might want it to be the other way around. So you might want to go in and edit for that, but you don't have to. You can design it one way and it will automatically come up with a version that that is very nice to use on a phone. And I think knowing that so much of the learners that we work with are going to be accessing things on their phones, it's great to know that you're making content that is actually kind of fun to look at on a phone or useful to use on a phone. Okay, so that took us a lot and I hope you learned a lot. You can take that quiz again. And if you did see that at the end, there was a place where you come back and see your answers and see what you got right or wrong. This section of the slides is all about how to make slides. Can anyone very quickly tell me how I could open a new slides document?
Hit on a new document sheet.
Right. Excellent. So if I'm in my, I'm going to say if I'm in my drive, I can go to new here, right? We said a few other ways that we could open new whatevers. Oh, thank you, Wei Hung. Maybe I put the wrong answer in there. Thanks. I'll catch that later. Seeing if you were reading. I like it. Okay, so I could go to new and I could click Google Forms. I could come up here and I could type forms.google.com. Right, both of these will get you there. These are the two I'm going to show you. In this case, because I want to have it in our folder, I'm going to go into my drive and I'm going to go to the folder that I want to use, which is our folder for today. And this is now, if I make a new one, it's going to be in this folder already and I don't have to worry. Now, when I'm looking at Google Forms here and any of these, you see they have that little arrow on the side. If I click on that arrow or just scroll over it, I have blank form, blank quiz. So it's already set up to be a quiz or a template. And you can look at the templates anytime you want to. I'm not going to explore those today, but just know that's how you get to them. You go to that little sideways arrow. So in this case, if I go to a blank form, the way that you make your questions, so they start off by giving you one, but you can make new ones by clicking on the little plus sign here on the right side, and you select the type of question from this drop down. So we have short answer, paragraph, multiple choice, checkboxes, Dropbox, file upload. So people could actually upload their image or a document that you need signed or something like that. Linear scale, multiple choice grid, and check grid. These are amazing, but the data is very messy and I don't use these very often. If you're doing a lot of surveying, maybe the linear scale would be useful, and there are certain complicated questions that might be useful, but I don't use them very much. I similarly don't use these because they create very specific boxes. So like if you're putting the date, it has to be month, day, year. And if people get it wrong, sometimes they get stuck and they can't submit their form. So I tend to not use these. I would just ask people in a short answer question to tell me what the date is. Also, when they submit their data, there's a date and time associated with their submission. So again, there might be a reason that you want to put that in there. Or I guess if you're asking them to choose a time for the future, that would be a reason to use that. But anyway, I would write them in and have them use multiple choice or check boxes. So what's the difference between short answer and paragraph? Is there a limit on how much you can write in a short answer?
No.
No. So what is the difference? Why would you choose one or the other? If I wanted,
question.
yeah.
It's-
So what kind? If I wanted to ask you to tell me your name, which one would I use? Short answer or paragraph?
I would presume that would be a short answer, and
Short
maybe a
answer.
paragraph has a formatting that's different than short answer.
Very close, Shelley. So yeah, that's the big difference is if you're in here. So let's make this one a short answer. So I'm going to say name, and then I'm going to make a new question, and I'm going to make this one paragraph, and I'm going to say, describe your cat. Now let's go and look at what this looks like from the front end. So they look very similar, but as I come in here and I write, my name is Nell. If I started saying Nell really likes ice cream and badminton and wants to climb. So pretty quickly, I run out of what I can see. If I come down here and put all of this in the paragraph answer, I have a lot more space that I can actually see what I've written. So you want to be thoughtful to the person who is typing in their answer. You've probably all experienced this where you're typing in a chat or something and you can't see the upper part of your message and you have to scroll around and it's very annoying. That's the difference between these. So there's no limit under the short answer. It's just very hard for the writer. They have to use arrow keys to get to the end of it, and or their finger on their screen or whatever. So be thoughtful. You don't need paragraph for their name, but if you're asking them to describe something or make a list or write a essay or something like that, you definitely want to give them the paragraph option. Okay. Let's go back to our original
Question,
version.
how do you go from the front of the form to the back of the form again? What did you do?
So this little eye will show you a preview.
I can't see
You
that.
don't see the little eye? Let's
This
make it
meeting
bigger.
is being recorded in front of it.
Oh, okay. Can you see it now? I made it really big over here. Can you
Okay, I can see it underneath the this meeting is
can you
being
click
recorded.
on the this meeting is being recorded? I think you can tell
Oh, okay. I thought that was there.
it just is
for-
there all the time. I think
Okay.
there you're just giving permission, or it just wants to make sure you really do know that we're doing this and you're okay with it.
Okay, now I see.
Now you see it. So these are actually very important to notice, right? We have, when we started our quiz, it's purple because this is the icon is purple, but we can change the color of our, let me get rid of this. We can change the writing. We can change the color of the form. We can add an image, right? So you notice on the one that we did today, it had this was a header. So you could have the header be something that you add yourself, like you have to upload it, or you can choose from images that they have. If you choose an image, there are lots of fun images here. So you might just be fine with that, but you can also upload, or you can take something from your photos. Oh, we could add the dog to this one. And this is how big of a space you have. So you kind of want to be careful that the image fits there. Otherwise, you might want to go to Canva or somewhere else to make your image that fits. And when you add an image, it also changes the color palette. So you get to choose, but you can also add another color if you want to. So we have customized theme. We have preview, which is the eye. We have undo. We have redo. With forms, the one thing to remember that's very different than any other Google tool, instead of saying share, they say send. I do not know why. So if we click on send, if I want to share my form with you so that you can fill it out, I can email it to you from here, but I didn't do that today, right? I gave you a link. So to get the link, this is the Google icon for link. And I can shorten that link. So this is the link you want to give to someone to answer your questions. If you give them the link up here, they will not be able to answer your questions. Do not grab it from the Omnibox. You have to come in here and grab it from here. And that is one thing with forms that people often make mistakes with, and that adds to a feeling like I can't trust forms because I tried to send the link and it didn't work. You want to get the link here. You also want to do one more thing. Let me make it a little smaller. So because I work, this is my Google account for my work account. So it's part of a bigger thing called Workspace. Sometimes that can have special security settings. So if you're using a Google account through your work, you do need to come in here and check on your settings, responses, and make sure that anyone can answer. So if this was checked this way and I gave you the link, only people from my company could answer. So actually, that's probably the other way around. So now it's off. So you want to make sure that that's turned off if you want people outside of your organization to do that. This really only comes up if you're using an account from a Workspace account. If it's just your personal Google account, it doesn't usually matter, but you should know that it's there. So we spend all of our time in questions. And then once we get our responses, we spend our time in responses. We kind of forget that we have settings over here. So in settings, that's the magic place to turn on the quiz. And once you turn on the quiz, when I come back to the questions, now I see that I can put in my answers. Right? So these two questions don't really have an answer key necessary. But if I created a new question that said, what's your favorite day of the week? And you should see this because Google is very friendly. So right now, by default, it thinks multiple choice. That's its go-to question type. What is your favorite day of the week? What? It just gave me all the options. I don't even have to type them in. I just say add all.
Neil, could you show me again how in the settings part, how
Yes.
do you get answers, please?
Sure. Let me go back to that.
What you just did it, but
Nope, I
I-
understand. It's a quick movement and it doesn't.
yeah.
So you're going to go to settings,
Uh-huh.
and this very top one says make this a quiz.
Yeah.
So if it's not a quiz, then there's no answer key. If I go
Mhm.
back to settings and I turn on the quiz and I come back to questions, now whatever question I'm in, notice the blue line, now I see answer key. So
Okay.
now I can click on answer key and I can say, okay, the right answer to this question is Thursday or Wednesday because Google Club's on Wednesday. So of course that's your favorite day. So now only Wednesday is the right answer. And I
Okay.
can click feedback. I can say only Wednesday is a good day, is the best day. And this is the answer that people see if they have the incorrect answer. And I usually give kind of the same answer, even if you get it correct, just to verify that you got it correct. And I click save. So now this is the only right answer. These are the feedback that the person will get after they've taken the quiz. You can be tricky and you could mark all of these as correct, right? And so no one gets a wrong answer. Or you just don't put an answer on it. And you leave that one, just like with name and describe your cat, I'm not going to put any correct, right or wrong, whatever. Again, the quiz works really only, the best use of the quiz is when you're doing multiple choice questions. So true and false questions, choose one. You know, if you're asking people to write a lot of their own content in there, then Google can't correct that. It can't tell if it's right or wrong. You're going to have to come in and look at that anyway. So I probably wouldn't use a quiz. I would just review the content in an essay. So this is particularly when they're very clear right and wrong answers. If this was just a survey, I wouldn't have it as a quiz, right? If I just want to know what day of the week would you like to have class, I'm not going to give a right or wrong answer. It literally is, I just want to gather this information. And as 20 people give me their answers, I see clearly that 50% want to meet on Tuesday. Now I know that's when I'm going to have class. So survey, there's no wrong or right answers. Quiz, there are right and wrong answers. Well, goodness me, we have taken all this time on forms because they are so lovely. I do want to look at sheets very quickly. Just know that everything we looked at just now is in the slides and more. And we'll go deeper and it seems to me we need to get back and try all these things out just for themselves. I kind of keep thinking we're moving into the next level, but I think we need to just do some basic review. So check out the forms and notice at the end of the slides, there are resources for forms and resources for sheets. And included in there are a number of videos, how-tos, playlists, things like that. So you can get a lot of support here if this is something you want to go play with. Okay, so we have very little time. Not even going to really attempt to do sheets today, actually. I want you to go and play with sheets a little bit. There's a very cool thing called let's go there just to show you, and then I'm gonna give you time to do a little bit of the evaluation. So when I'm looking at my folder, I gave you in here a nice data set that is the attendance for all my classes. So there's a lot of people here. And I want to know who is ready to be tested. And the rule from State Ed is that they need to have at least 40 hours. So my first step is to add up all of these hours. And the way I do that is I highlight that line or that row. And then the way I do it is I go up here to this little functions icon and I click sum. and I hit enter. And what's amazing, again, Google thinks it knows what I want. It's suggesting to do the same thing for all the other ones. And I'm like, sure, that sounds great to me. So now it's done totals for all of these students. So now I want to identify which students have at least 40 hours. And I could go through and manually do something wacky here, but what we're going to do is called conditional formatting. I'm going to go down and highlight this row. And then I'm going to go up to format because it's conditional formatting. I'm going to go to conditional formatting and I'm going to say, if in this row, if in this cell, it is greater than or equal to, and I'm going to put 40, and I'm going to change the color to red, and I'm going to click done. Now, when I scroll over and look at that row, it has found all the students that have over 40. And if I was to go in here and I made this person, if I added 10 points, 10 hours to them, that wasn't enough. Let's do 30 points there. So even as you add new hours in, it will add that conditional formatting at the end. So think about ways that conditional formatting could help you in your world. You'll see in the slides, I take you through conditional formatting a little bit, but one of the things, yeah, I'm going to stop there because there's too many good things. We'll do sheets again one day.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Once the sheet is created, I can manipulate it, do anything with it, flip it over and under. I just don't know how to create it.
All right.
That's the general gist
Okay. So we're
of-
back to our situation, right? So we're in our folder where you want to have your sheet. You're going to go to new. You're going to click on Google Sheets. And there's your new sheet. And now you get to put whatever content you want in it. Does that help, Shelley, or is that?
kind of, sort of. I've been playing with it a little bit. But I get kind of lost as to which line and or column would be which column or which column or which row would be a date.
And that's up to
which-
you. That's totally up to you. So that is confusing if you think it's going to tell you, it's not going to tell you. So when you come in here, this is part of the thinking. I will say with sheets, maybe more than, it's not true. I would say with any of these things, you want to do a little thinking before you come in. So attendance forms have a tendency to be set up with the people's names and then a set of dates across the top. And again, Google will help you. So if you put in a date here and you drag this over, it may extend that date for you. So if I put in 5/22/24, it recognizes that that's a date. So now when I double click on it, it actually even gives me a calendar. If I drag that date over, and so the key here again, we talk about that square line, letting you know what you're editing. And then this circle here, if I drag from that, it'll fill these other rows and it will just keep adding another day. Julie, yes, ask a question. So, oh, I see you have your question. Is it possible that we can import a test from a website? So are you talking about a Google quiz that you saw on a website? Because it's true, you can embed the quizzes in a website. Is that what you're talking about?
Sorry, I found this, there's some couple of websites they can create a test from AI.
Okay.
And if they created a test for us, and can we import that test onto the Google form?
Yes. So here's an example of what you're talking about, I think. So I made an example one about Emily Dickinson. And I did exactly this, right? So I took a poem. I found an Emily Dickinson poem. So this will be our last thing. I did put the survey in the chat, and I hope you have to respond to the survey, but I will send it out to you as well, and you'll do it that way. But I'll do this one because it's really fun. So if I say I carefully decided this poem I want to use with my students, right? So we're going to look at Emily Dickinson bee poem. All right. So we got her poem about bees. I'm going to take that poem. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to open up ChatGPT. And I have an account and I'm already logged in, but you can do that very easily too. So down here it says is where I can put my stuff. So I'm going to say, create 3 multiple choice questions about this poem. And then I put in the poem and I hit enter and it thinks, and here are 3 multiple choice questions. Now, I might not like these questions, and maybe these are not the questions that get to what we've been talking about in class. So I might want to edit them. I can say, include one about blooms. I'm being very random. So you can slowly tell it some changes you want, or you can come back and take one of these and edit it the way you want. Now, what's amazing is I can take this question and go to my new quiz and put in the question. And then I come back to ChatGPT and I copy all 4 answers. And where it says option 1, I do Control V and it puts them in as 4 separate answers. It's kind of amazing. So you are the smart person who chooses the poem or the writing or whatever the content is. You are the person who takes it to ChatGPT. ChatGPT is going to give you some suggestions. You get to choose what you like or what you don't like or edit it. But it works so beautifully to make a nice quiz about specific content that you're working on. All right. Any other questions? I lost the chat. I'm going to stop sharing.
Can you please put your email in the chat?
Absolutely. And my email is always at the end of the slides, but I will very happily put it in here. There you go. And are there other questions I missed in the chat? I'm looking through. Yes, learning vocabulary. It's very important to be able to talk about where we are and what we're doing. So that concept of the ribbon and the tabs and the favicon, that's why those are important words to know, because then we can indicate things on our screen by talking about them, which especially remotely becomes very important.
And
Yes.
did you say you would send us an email with
So
these
what I will
websites?
do, yes, I will send you tomorrow. I will send you an email with a link to the slides from today. You'll have my email address, obviously, as part of that. I'm going to send you the survey link in case you don't do it today, but I really need you guys to do the survey because this is what our funder likes. And I want to hear from you what other topics you'd like to have in Google Club. And I'll also send you the link to the recording. So the
Thank you so
recording will
much.
go up on our blog, and then I'll send you the link to the blog. So you'll have everything there.
I'm a little slow with responding to the survey, but I promise I will.
Thank you. That's all I ask. Please respond to the survey. That's really important. Yes, Mary, ask about favicons, please.
Can you create favicons, or those are just what they're called? Oh, okay.
So if I was creating a favicon, I'd probably use Canva. If you have a logo already, that can be your favicon. If you have a little picture you like, that can be the favicon. So again, this will take us over the 5:30, but I'll show it to those of you who want to stay. I'll stop the recording now so that we're not spoiling.